of my friends, my analysts here on set, but I want to go to San Francisco and get some insight from our reporters, Tim McMahon and Kendra Andrews, joining us now. Tim, I want to start with you here. What stood out to you? What caught your attention about what Mavs head coach Jason Kidd said about Steve Kerr?
Well, first of all, Malika, I hope we're still friends, but when they asked Kidd about playing Steve Kerr, he goes, yeah, I remember. He played with Michael Jordan. He was kidding. This is Jason Kidd who will tell you the Mavericks championship team was Dirk and, quote, a bunch of burgers. So he knows about fitting in with a superstar, and that's what he said. Steve Kerr hit big shots. He fits so well with superstars. And look, Mavericks fans, they remember it wasn't just with Michael Jordan. With Tim Duncan, you go back to the 03 West Finals. Game 6, closeout game in Dallas. Steve Kerr, 4-4 from 3. Hit 3 big ones in the fourth quarter. And Jay Kidd said Steve Kerr doesn't get his just due for being a great role player. He was a winner then, and that's obviously carried over into his coaching career.
Tim, thank you. Kendra, I want to get the opinion from the flip side of all of this. What did Steve Kerr say about Jason Kidd?
Yeah, Malika, well, what Steve Kerr said that he and Jason Kidd have in common is that they both inherited teams with an already established core. And he says it's a lot easier to implement changes when you're working with a group that already has some continuity. Now, where he said they differ, particularly where Jason Kidd differs, is that a lot of players turned coaches were role players, not Hall of Famers. Steve said not a lot of superstar top 25 guys like Jason go on to do this coaching for a very long time. But Jason, he's different. As for what Steve remembers playing Jason from their days on the court, he said that he remembers his speed and his force that Jason played with. Maybe it wasn't translated well over TV, but you felt it when you were on the court with him. But Steve then joked, luckily, I wasn't the one who had to defend him.
Kendra, thank you so much. Bringing it back here on set in Chicago. Have fun at Game 1. We have our very own head coach joining our set. JB, I got to do it. John Blair, Bickerstaff. And JB, you've had to game plan for games against both Steve Kerr's teams and Jason Kidd's teams. What stands out to you about how they approach the game and what they're going to do tonight in Game 1?
Just how dynamic they are. They're both dynamic, but they're completely different in how they get it done. If you take Golden State, for example, Golden State gets done by movement, right? It's not only ball movement, but the two guys that you're chasing around the floor, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, are two of the most lethal guys offensively, but you don't get to just stare at them and see where they are. You have to go out and find them. You have to chase them. You know, you got big guys that have to be alert to their movement. And then with Luka, it's a lot of pick and roll, right? So it's more stationary offense than the movement, but you got a guy who's such a dynamic playmaker that he can make all the reads, and he just waits for the defense to make a mistake. And then if you don't make a mistake, he just scores it himself. So they're both dynamic. You know, you can't say one is better than the other because obviously they're both capable of getting it done.
I'm sorry, I looked over there for a second because Richard almost just broke our table, so that's cool. If we're talking about game planning for Steph Curry and Luka Doncic, two of the most potent players in the game today, what stands out to you about what adjustments they're going to need to make?
Well, that's the fun part of the playoffs, right? And that's why you get into coaching and try to figure out, you know, can you match wits with that guy that's across from you? Both of them are, like I said, extremely dynamic. You know, with Luka, you know where he's going to be. Luka's going to be in front of you. He's going to have the ball in his hands. They're going to bring multiple people to play pick and roll with him, and then they're going to space the ball, space the floor around him. With Steph, he's going to be all over the place. And I think that's where he's so difficult is he's going to be on the baseline sometimes. He's going to be handling it sometimes. He's going to be trailing. He's going to fill the corner. So he's more difficult to locate. But obviously, they're both capable of getting the job done with the ball in their hands.
Richard, why the stank face?
Well, because that little spin, step back three is disgusting. Like that, like we just gloss over it because he does it all the time. We don't see many guys do that specific move. Steph does it. I think we've seen James do it, James Harden do it. And I'd even say like Kevin Durant. But that little in the corner, post up, step back spin like that, you can't guard it, and he does it so effortlessly. Like there's just nothing you can do in those moments.
Zach, who is tougher to defend in your estimation, the Mavericks or the Warriors?
As a team, I think the Warriors just are so different that it takes teams, you can see in playoff series, it takes a game or two to get used to playing against them after playing. You can talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
You guys had trouble. Those first two games are like, boom.
Worst 2 losses combined in NBA Finals history. Like our game 1 and game 2 combined total score. Because it just, we had cruised through the Eastern Conference, and then you get there, and they're a different monster. If you're in the Western Conference, you get them 4 times a year. If you're in the Eastern Conference, you only get them once or twice. So it's like, even then, those first 2 games are literally just trying to figure it out.
Just trying to get your sea legs.
Yeah.
But individually, I mean, Luka is just a killer.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do with him. He's too big. He can see every pass. And to the point you just made, the hallmark of a superstar is he can beat you with shots that you're supposed to live with as a defense, with floaters, with step backs. He can make enough of them that you'll still lose the game.
Yeah, and when you think about Golden State, right, Coach JB was right. You talk about the player movement, the ball movement. In order to beat them, you also got to have IQ on the floor. Like, the first step of defense is communication. If you're not communicating on those switches or those back picks or those pin downs, whatever the case may be, you're dead bird, tall grass. So that's what I saw with the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, it was so many times I'm like, how did y'all miscommunicate this switch? This is Steph Curry. Why is Jaren Jackson Jr. not up on the screen when he's supposed to be when the Steph Curry is coming off the pick? But when you look at Luka, he gives me that LeBron James type vibe, where it's like, okay, how can I actually guard him? Do I send a double team? You really can't, because he's so good at picking the defense apart, on time, on target passes. So it's going to be a fun series. That's why I'm not picking either one of them.
JB, when you were coaching against Luka,
Is that allowed?
Yeah,
it is allowed.
Yeah.
He makes his own rules. I just, it's Perk's world. We all just live in it. But when you were coaching against Luka this year, would you say that you saw the potential for them to not only make it out of the first round for the first time, but push all the way through to the Western Conference Finals?
We played him late. We played him early in the year, and we were able to beat them down in Dallas, and then we played them late, and they beat us in Cleveland. And you saw the trajectory and how they were trending. You saw that, you know, obviously they talked about his conditioning earlier in the year, and he addressed that, and to where he is now, to be able to have to carry a team. And I think with his skill set, the way that they improve defensively, I think that's one of the things that we're missing here, too, is we're talking a lot of offense. But if you look at these conference finals, the defense is going to be what gets it done. We saw it last night. Yeah. Like, you're going to have to defend, and they've improved on the defensive end of the ball.
Man, I can't wait for this game. It is the first time, by the way, that the Mavs and the Warriors have faced off in the playoffs since that We Believe upset. So this is going to be fun. JB, thank you so much for joining Richard Dolores and company and I here on NBA Today. Speaking of Luka's excellence, you know who else was the WNBA's Sky? And draft analyst Mike Schmitz is joining us now. And you know what that means. It means that Zach couldn't be more excited because we get to talk about the lottery. So
I haven't seen Zach smile that much since we was talking about Anthony Edwards' dog.
It's a little bit frightening.
Anthony Edwards Jr.
Anthony Edwards Jr.
Anthony Edwards Jr.
Zach, since this is like you're literally your baby, what was your biggest takeaway from last night?
I think 2 teams that really needed it got the number 1 and 2 picks in the draft, and that starts with Orlando. Since Dwight Howard forced a trade, they've just been living in purgatory, either really bad but never moving up in the lottery to get the guy, or just mediocre and drafting in the middle of the first round. And they drafted some good players. They drafted some nice support players. The one year they really moved up and had a super high pick was 2013, which was like the year you didn't want a top 3 pick. And they got Victor Oladipo, who was good, and then they traded him. They've just been begging for something to center this rebuild, which has been endless, around for so long, and now they finally have their chance to do it. And as Perk's going to talk about, they're starting to collect a bunch of interesting players, but they've done that before. What they've been missing is the tent pole to build around them, and this is their chance finally to get it.
Perk, before we get to you, Richard, on our pre-show call this morning, you were talking about the Orlando Magic. What intrigues you about them getting the number 1 pick?
Well, I really love the culture that Jamal Mosley is trying to build. I had him as a coach. I've known him for years, especially like when I played in Dallas. But in Dallas, he brought out Wendell Carter. He brought out Cole Anthony, and he's just like, hey, I want these guys to experience the postseason. I want them to see the prep. I want them to feel the energy. He wants his guys to understand what it takes to get there and why you're fighting so hard. So to see a coach put that type of energy already, the season just ended for them, a month and a half ago. So to see him already putting energy into his guys into next year, to see him get the number 1 pick, it just means that the culture is starting to change in Orlando. Orlando.
Mike, you've been on the Chet Holmgren beat essentially for the past 3 years, right?
Yep.
What makes him such a can't-miss prospect?
Well, there's only so many 7-footers on this entire earth with a 7'6" wingspan who can pass, dribble, shoot, and protect the rim at such a high level. So we talk so much about his shot blocking and the three-point shooting, but there are two things that stand out most to me, okay? And I was able to go to Santa Barbara, spend some time around him. Perk, we talked about this the other day. He's mean.
Yes.
Like he's, buck 95, 200 pounds. No, don't get it twisted. He is mean and focused and aggressive, and being around him a couple days and just watching his preparation,
he was
how he
on
breaks
set.
it. Mean. You got a sense of mean.
His photo on the mock draft graphic that we
Listen,
just
You don't look happy right there.
He's not afraid one bit, right? So, he's there early, he stays late, the whole deal, right? On top of that, he's not just this rim running, pick and pop guy. He can handle the ball. He has legitimate wing skills. He's going to be playing pick and roll like Evan Mobley, like Jaren Jackson, different bigs, putting the ball in his hands. And, I can talk about this workout and all that, but let's just show you. Let's show you some of the stuff we talked about out in Santa Barbara and break it down. Let's roll the tape.
And you would say he's more skilled than Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yes.
For the upcoming draft. He's the total package. He can do it all out on the floor. Chet Holmgren, are you serious? Wow!
Mike Schmitz of ESPN here in Santa Barbara. Chet Holmgren, Packy Turner. Chet, I think what makes you special is at your size, your ability to handle the ball, play pick and roll, bust out of handoffs. What makes you so effective in those situations?
Just reading the defense and taking what they give me, not forcing anything and not trying to take something that's not there.
Holmgren made it look easy. Look how fluid he is. It's not fair.
One thing I've seen from you, too, just watching you work out is you have step backs, side steps. Maybe take us through, the cadence of one of those moves.
When I'm going and they're on my hip, that's when I can use my pocket to use those step backs to kind of create some space.
Okay.
And then, not use the arm so I can really use my body and create enough space for that jump shot.
So let's see you roasting our guy Packy here. So he's getting into the ball, he's getting into you. Feel him on your hip. Stop, pop, splash.
Do you believe in unicorns? I think I didn't until tonight, but I think I might now.
We're going to break down your film here. This is, I think, an action that NBA teams are going to use you in, right? Maybe not this exactly, but whether you're busting out of the corner into a handoff, right? So what are you reading in the defender that leads to this decision?
At the end of the day, if a defender wants to go under a screen or shoot the gap on a screen, they're basically, saying that you can't hit that stop behind three. So that's the read every time.
Yeah.
And just knock that down.
Evan Mobley, Cleveland used him a lot in these type of situations, kind of 4-5 pick and roll. What do you like about this, and do you foresee yourself kind of functioning in some of these as well?
I love this, and I love that the NBA is going in this direction. And I definitely see myself doing this.
What do you love about this?
I just love seeing a 7-footer like myself. Obviously, Evan Mobley, great player. Come off a middle ball screen and skip into an elbow pull-up.
How excited are you for the NBA game and just how open it is and kind of to be able to show some of that versatility?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be able to play in the NBA. It's been a lifelong dream to be able to, play at that level and compete at that level. So, I'm excited to show what I can do.
Well, Chad, it's been great to kind of track your development, get to know you a little bit over these last few years, and best of luck along the way. Appreciate it, man. So we only saw maybe 20% of what he can do offensively given the situation at Gonzaga. So Perk, I'm going to throw it to you. What is the best fit for Chet Holmgren?
Oh, I'm being biased. H-Town, Houston. but here's why, right? You look at Jalen Green, and we watched him progress throughout the last part of the season. He was dropping 40 pieces, things to that nature. And I talk about looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers and that the Rockets should try to mimic what they're doing, right? They had Darius Garland. They added Evan Mobley. Why not add Chet Holmgren? I know he's probably going to go number one because he's the true definition.
I don't know if he's going to get that far
I understand that, but he's a true definition of a generational talent. But if Houston could land him, with the combination between him and Jalen Green will be a great starting point, and I could see them being the next version of Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and what they did in the league that the Cleveland Cavaliers took this season.
Well, speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers, we have a special guest who's stopping by our show coming up soon on